Hi, I'm Cash, and welcome back to Cash Talks Football, where today we're going to talk about Nottingham Forest and the things that's going on with Forest, because it's not necessarily a Forest problem. This happens quite a bit in football, and it needs to be broken down a little bit so people can sort of understand it, because you have to look at things in football without an emotion. And if you're a football fan of Forest, you're going, oh, from the highs of last season to the lows of this season, that gets in the way of actually analysing and looking at what's really going on inside the football club. And you've got a couple of issues with Marinakis, Edu, and whatever manager comes in. And you have to think of that relationship, because you have to put yourself in the other people's shoes of how does Marinakis think? He's a different owner. He's like a Chelsea guy, Roman Abramovich. He's not taking any nonsense. He's not like a board of committee that's run at Manchester City, that's more of a corporation than it is a club, where there's lots of structure and organisation behind it. So the relationship between the owner and the manager isn't there, because there's so many people in the way before there, and the manager gets pretty much left alone to do what he wants. It doesn't happen at Forest. You have to have a direct relationship with the owner, just like you would at Chelsea with Roman Abramovich. And if you don't have that, you're in a huge problem. And you don't have that at Forest anymore because you've got Edu involved. And it's the same sort of situation if you've ever been in a relationship with a girl before, and you keep hearing, oh, but my best friend has said this, and it's constantly interfering with your relationship. Or my mum has said this about that, and the other person is constantly interfering with the relationship. It happens in work all the time when you're trying to talk to your direct boss, but there's someone in the way, some sort of supervisor, and it's always chirping in the ear of your actual manager that's making your job impossible to do. Nuno spotted that. That's what he knew was going on. Eddie bought a bunch of players, and now he has to justify that to his boss. Because remember, he still wants to keep his job and say why he's important for this football club going forward. And then you've got Marinakis, who wasn't thinking about going for the Champions League, but all of a sudden was in that situation. And now he's thinking, well, we can do this. But the tools and the things that he put in place. So let's just talk about that. They came up from the Championship. I think it was was it Cooper? Tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. Got them up from the Championship, but there's loads and loads of managers that can get you out of the Championship. What you need is a decent squad. Marinakis built a decent squad, had a decent manager, and they got themselves up. You give that squad to a whole bunch of managers, and they'll get them out of the Championship. But maintaining themselves in the Premier League with a certain style of play in a certain way is very, very different. And they had that perfect sort of symbiotic relationship with Marinakis and Nuno and the squad. That was working perfectly. And then when you got Edu who comes in, and now you've got the owner, and his head's turned. We could be Champions League. All we need to do is a couple of little tweaks, and we can be Champions League next year. Yeah, but you still need the squad, and you still need the manager, and you've just got rid of the manager. So the new players you've added to the squad, the manager didn't want, and now all hell's breaking loose. And you've got Edu sitting there going, oh, but I told you that he wasn't good enough, and we lost against West Ham, and yeah, really? There's more to it than that. And the problem with the manager is he's only got one thing to do. He can only win football games. That's the only thing that Marinakis is going to care about. Edu, on the other hand, can say and do whatever he wants, and his job's not in jeopardy because he doesn't have to win football games. He can tell Marinakis week in, week out, oh, yeah, this guy's not good enough. No, the players I've got were great. The system isn't quite right. It's the manager's fault. And remember, he won't say it like that, because of the political way that these people talk behind the scenes. He'll never come out and say, Ange Postecoglou is your guy. That's the manager you want to play the system I want. He's never going to put his neck on the chopping block and say that. He's just going to sort of infer and make sort of decisions in the transfer window and things that will push him in a direction to make Marinakis think about that. It's like, oh, did your mum actually say that I was a horrible person? No, but she inferred it. What? What do you mean inferred it? And all of these little things matter when you're at a club where you have a direct ownership manager relationship. In the live chat yesterday when I was explaining this on Monday Night Live, I had people explaining to me this is the exact same problem they were having at Watford. It's the same problem that you even have at clubs like Manchester United, where you're getting pushed and pulled all over the place. Instead of having one clear vision with the owner and the manager on the same page going forward, that's how you win, because that keeps your squad intact. That keeps your squad on the same page. Because remember, your football squad is a bunch of children. That's who football players are. Egotistical children. And they need to be kept in their little pen and told this is what the rules are and you do exactly what I'm told. As soon as mummy and daddy are fighting, those children will do whatever they want. And that's what's happening at Forest. You can see it. They should have scored at least 2 goals against Chelsea on the weekend. They didn't. Why? Because the children really aren't playing up to their level. They can afford to get away with doing whatever because they know mummy and daddy are fighting. And that's the problem that Forest are having. And until Marinakis can see that and he can understand that he's getting pushed and pulled around by a technical director, manipulated, and he might not completely understand it. He doesn't have to. He needs to look at what worked, what happened, what was working, and let's get back to that. Because unless they get back to that, this club's on a slippery slope. When Ange came in, I was really fearful for Forest because I thought this could be a relegation. This could be, and if they get relegated, the wheels can come off the bus. Because Forest will be there in 20 years. Marinakis won't. That's what you need to look at. Where are we going as a football club? What are we doing? It's not just about the here and now. It's about where are we going to end up? What's going forward? And I honestly think Marinakis got his head turned a little bit going, well, if we have bad league form, we won't get relegated because we're really good. And if we can win the European Cup, basically copy what Spurs were doing. Well, that's not a great way of thinking in football because football's not like that. And Spurs had a better squad than Forest do. And Spurs almost got relegated. So you've got to really think about these appointments a lot more clearly than he's doing. And he's just reacting, I think, to his technical director. And he's not thinking things clearly and through. And also, I know he's not that person that he's going to do that. He does react quite quickly and he does make irrational decisions and things going forward. He does it all the time, which isn't a bad thing. As long as he's got a good relationship with the manager and the manager knows what's coming and knows what's happening. I don't think that's the case anymore at Forest. I think he's lost that a little bit. I think he's almost sitting back and going, oh, yeah, well, I've got this other guy in and he can do that job. He can talk to the manager and do all those things. Well, no, that isn't what was working. You can't add an extra person into the relationship and think that everything's going to be hunky-dory. You just can't. I'll wait and see what happens over the next couple of weeks with his new appointments. I think it's Sean Dyche is coming in, which is going to be awful. It's going to be awful. You've gone from a club that doesn't want to play a certain brand of football to playing a certain brand of football. It reminds me at West Ham when they got rid of David Moyes because of a certain brand of football. And then they almost get relegated. And what are they doing? Going back to a similar sort of manager in Nuno who keeps it tight and does exactly what like David Moyes was doing. So you can't get to the promised land of being a Champions League and an established club without years and years of building your squad, maintaining it, getting everything sorted out, having one good season in the Premier League and then having another dreadful one. That's the Newcastle model. And that looks like what they're doing. Great season, bad season, great season, bad season. And if Forest have a bad season, they could get relegated. No one wants to see that. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you next time on Cash Talks Football.